Welcome back to the best division in football with your boys Authentic and The Beard, the best television show not on TV. We got a full slate of games today. I'm looking forward to talking about all these matchups, including that New York Giants matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But we got the Eagles traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals one time. The Cowboys are going up against their kryptonite this week, the San Francisco 49ers, who have been dealing with a ton of injuries. You got the Chicago Bears headed to Northwest Field to take on the Washington Commanders. You already know that was going to stump me up a little bit there one time, but that's going to be a battle of the number one pick between the number two pick, Jayden Daniels versus Caleb Williams. Tonight, we got the Vikings and the Rams, and of course, we got those New York Giants. Monday night, taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's get right to it. Without further ado, let me bring in the left side to the strong side duo. The man, the myth with the 100-inch beard hairs in the building, who told me that I got to let him in through the door. He wants to be welcomed into the crib of Authentic and the Beard. What's popping, my dog?
Well, the beard is a little bit shorter.
Oh,
right
you
now.
trimmed it up a little bit, getting ready for that extravaganza this week coming up here, huh?
Had to get the cut, had to clean up for the Dominican side of the family, or else I'll just look like Duck Dynasty to them. So until of course I hit the dance floor. You gonna show up in that camouflage like you going deer hunting and whatnot? As soon as I hit the dance floor though and show them my salsa moves, it's all good. They don't care how long the beard is.
You know, I don't know if y'all ever seen the Dave Chappelle skit where he was talking about how Caucasians dance, and he was like, in their mind, they're going, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and that's how the beard be on the dance floor. Me, on the other hand, you're not going to catch me on the dance floor.
Never,
I'm chilling, man. Never that. Unless if you give me a little saucy, you know what I'm saying, get me in the system a certain way. Yeah, you might have caught me on the dance floor a couple times, throwing a couple elbows and whatnot, man.
Oh,
but
man,
Beard, how you feeling, man? How you looking? How you feeling about these games coming up?
It's hot, man. It's hot in the city right now, temperature-wise, and just this team. I mean, Jayden Daniels did not practice today. We're looking forward, hopefully, to at least a limited practice tomorrow. We'll dive into that a little bit more once we get into that game. But it's a big week, man. It's some interesting games here. I mean, the San Francisco-Dallas game, Philly-Cincinnati game, I kind of struggled going back and forth with who I wanted to pick in those games. So it's going to be an interesting week of football. No buys this week.
None, really. That's interesting.
Yeah. So no buys this week, which is weird because we've already had so many buys. So no buy this week, no London game this week. It's just kind of like this is a real big turning point for the NFL and the teams this week. Like this is where people are going to start a little bit more separation. You know, you're going to see some teams completely falling out of contention and some teams fighting for their lives. So I think that we got some good matchups to talk about today. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited myself, man. These are some big games in the NFC East, some must-wins, especially that Philadelphia Eagles game. So let's get right to it. They're going to be traveling to Cincinnati to take on Joe Burrow and the Bengals. This is a season-defining type of game for both of these teams. Let's get right into it. All right, man. Big shout out to the AFC North, man. They're finding ways to salvage their tough starts that they had this year, the Baltimore Ravens especially. But the Cincinnati Bengals here trying to get back to 500. They're sitting at 3-4. They're going to be welcoming the Philadelphia Eagles to Cincinnati. Philadelphia quietly sitting at 4-2. A lot of people were worried about them. They've been definitely getting back on track, especially coming off that bye just a week ago. Kickoff is Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Philadelphia Eagles favored by 2.5 in this one. The over-under is 48 from what I saw last week. The Bengals beat the Browns. I told you the Browns were going to cover that spread.
Bengals are actually favored.
Oh, Bengals are favored now.
Bengals are favored by 2.5.
Oh, Bengals by 2.5. But Bengals ended up beating the Browns last week, 21-14. The Eagles beat the New York Giants pretty bad, 28-3 in that one. Last meeting, the Eagles and the Bengals tied, 23-23. That was in 2000. Since 2000, there's been 2 ties with these teams, and the Eagles have not won any of those matchups. The Bengals are pretty banged up coming into this game. They lost one of their best offensive linemen last week, Orlando Brown. The Bengals struggled to run the ball, too, versus the Browns last week. Zach Moss and Chase Brown both combined for just 51 yards. Again, I told you that the Browns were going to cover that spread. I had a feeling this is not the Bengals team that we have been accustomed to seeing in the past couple of years, the team that we saw make a push for the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago. Their defense has been struggling in a major way, and they're going up against a Philadelphia Eagles offense that has been playing pretty well as of late. Not really asking Jalen Hurts to do too much these last 2 games. But Jalen Hurts has played 2 games in a row without turning the ball over. I think that Nick Sirianni has made it a point to be able to make these game plans a little bit more palatable for what Jalen Hurts does best, which is obviously try to take care of the ball when he's running the ball as well. They only threw it 14 times last week. The Eagles have won every game that A.J. Brown has played in this year. That's very important for them to keep him healthy. Hurts has just 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions on the year, which some might consider a down year. And if he was a New York Giant, they would say, but what about the rushing touchdowns? Well, Jalen Hurts has 4 rushing touchdowns on the year. That's 11 total touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Not too bad. He does have a couple of fumbles. Now, Joe Burrow in this Bengals offense right now, 4th in the NFL in passing touchdowns for Joe Burrow with 14, just 2 interceptions on the year. He's got a passer rating of at least 105 of the 7 games this year, a completion percentage and a QBR. We don't normally lump these 2 together, but a completion percentage and a QBR over 70 right now. The big matchup that I'm looking forward to, I talked about this matchup with their defensive back going up against the New York Giants last week. It was Malik Neighbors going up against Quinyon Mitchell, where people were like putting emojis and GIFs and stuff in that chat talking about Malik Neighbors is going to toast him. It's not even a test, da-da-da-da-da. He held Malik Neighbors to under 50 yards last week, just 4 receptions. Some great jams at the line when I went and I looked at the all-22 tape. Quinyon Mitchell looks like an extremely physical corner. Jamar Chase, though, a lot of people don't really notice. It's been very quiet for him. Number 1 in the NFL in receiving yards right now. Number 1 in the NFL in receiving touchdowns right now with 6. Chase was held to just 55 yards last week versus Cleveland, and we know Cleveland has maybe the best shutdown corner in the league in Denzel Ward. This is going to be a really tough matchup for Jamar Chase. The other one is obviously Saquon Barkley. I really think that Saquon's probably going to have to be the difference maker in this game, same way he was last week. He's coming off his biggest game of the year, 176 on 17, 10.4 yards per carry on the ground. He's 3rd in rushing in the NFL, 6.1 yards per carry this year. Saquon has 3 100-yard games this year already and a 95-yard performance against the Atlanta Falcons. He's averaging over 100 yards per game at 109.7. 2 teams that rely on something I've been talking about for 5-6 weeks, it feels like right now, which is the explosive play. We know Jamar Chase has that capability to do that. A.J. Brown and Jamar Chase are both going to demand a lot of attention in this game. But to me, the 2 difference makers that you got to look out for in this game, it's either going to be a 3rd wide receiver for each one of these teams, which I don't think that'll be the case for Philadelphia, being that it's been Jahan Dotson, who hasn't really had much success. So I'd look at T. Higgins on the Cincinnati Bengals side of the offensive ball. And for the Philadelphia Eagles, it's absolutely got to be Saquon Barkley who's going to be this difference maker. What are you seeing in this one?
I mean, a lot of what you said is kind of the direction I was going in. You kind of made me think a little bit more about, the ability of the Eagles to win this matchup. I think there's going to be a lot of coaching, on this table here that's going to play a big role. Both of these guys have had successful, early in their career moments. By going to the Super Bowl, both of these teams, neither one of them winning the Super Bowl, but it is that early success, and now they're kind of facing some adversity, more so record-wise with Cincinnati, and more so just personnel-wise with Philadelphia. Philadelphia's rushing offense, you talked about Saquon Barkley. I mean, everybody's kind of getting a little bit of touches over there too, outside of Saquon, and then obviously you have Jalen Hurts, who's running the ball a little bit better as this season has been progressing than those first couple of weeks when people were kind of noticing about Jalen Hurts and looking like he had lost a step or wasn't necessarily a fully healthy. They're 2nd in the league right now in rushing offense. They're averaging 166.7 yards per game. So Cincinnati allows the 12th most rushing yards. They're giving up 136.1 yards per game. So the Bengals are going to have to find a way to stop Saquon Barkley. Now, you talked about Jalen Hurts, and he's been really good with the ball lately. But Philadelphia is tied for 3rd worst turnover differential in the NFL right now. They're -6. Cincinnati Bengals, though, you talked about Joe Burrow and his, low number of interceptions. Cincinnati's +2 in the turnover differential. So turnovers are going to be a huge part in this game for sure. Now, Cincinnati, one thing that they do well is pass the ball, obviously, with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Their pass offense produces the 8th most passing yards per game, 237.4. Philadelphia's pass defense is pretty damn good, man. They're allowing the 10th fewest passing yards per game. They're only allowing 189.2. So Burrow's going to have to kick it up a notch against this Philadelphia Eagles defense passing-wise. Now, Philadelphia has the 10th worst third down offense. Now, that's something they're going to have to be able to do better at in this game, because if you're getting the ball back to Joe Burrow constantly throughout this game, you're just going to give them more opportunities to put up the points that Cincinnati puts up, which is generally more points than Philadelphia has this season. Cincinnati is ninth third down defense. This is 44.2%. So you got a really bad third down offense in Philadelphia going up against a pretty good third down defense in Cincinnati. That's where Cincinnati is going to have to win in this matchup for sure. And then kind of talking about the red zone, which is interesting to me because looking at the red zone numbers, it kind of supports your theory on how both of these teams kind of do rely on the big plays. And not necessarily always a big play touchdown, but, the big plays to get them into the red zone. And what can these teams do once they reach that red zone is what's going to be important. Cincinnati's offense is the 8th best red zone, 66.7%. Philadelphia Eagles' red zone defense is so legit. Number 2 in the NFL. They're only allowing people 38.9% conversion rate in the red zone. Now, Philadelphia's offense, which is something that we talked about within the last couple of weeks, which is kind of uncharacteristic of this team and Jalen Hurts, and now adding Saquon Barkley, but they're the 12th worst offensive red zone team in the league right now. They're only converting 52.4% in the red zone. Lucky for them, Cincinnati Bengals red zone defense is pretty bad. 6th worst in the NFL, 68.2%. So Cincinnati's going to have to buckle up in that red zone and try and keep Philly out when they do get down there. That's kind of like it. There's a lot of things here that these two teams can do to stop the other team and win. Sometimes when you get a team like Cincinnati Bengals and Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, you kind of just can throw some of these numbers out. Now, it can be a high-scoring game, but I also get this weird feeling like this could be like a 17-14 game with the way that these two offenses have been very inconsistent this season.
Yeah, the Bengals scored 20 points this past week, and the week before that against the Giants, they scored 17. So they really haven't been scoring as many points as they did in the beginning of the year when they were, not winning as many games too. So maybe there's been an adjustment on their side to kind of try to control the clock, which they didn't get to run the ball that well this past week. But I'm leaning towards the Philadelphia Eagles, although I do think that this is going to be a really close game. Like I said, I think that the difference maker for a win or a loss for the Philadelphia Eagles is going to be Saquon Barkley. If he can go out there and have a decent game, I remember when he was a Giant, the number that I used to always look at would be 70 yards. If Saquon could get over 70 yards, he's going to give his team a chance to win. I think it's going to be fairly simple and fairly similar in this matchup against the Bengals. I'm taking the Philadelphia Eagles in this one. I think that they're like just about to start playing their best type of football. I'm confident, having A.J. Brown on the field on that offense, that's going to be the difference maker for them. I'm going to take the Eagles in a close one. I'm going to say 29-24 Philadelphia Eagles.
This game is in Cincinnati. I don't think Saquon is the reason why the Eagles lose this game, but I think Nick Sirianni's usage of Saquon gets in the way once again. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals to win this game 24-23.
That's interesting because he's definitely made a point of emphasis to get Saquon the ball early and often. It was 6 carries in the first quarter, and then I think it was 3 carries in the second quarter, and then they ramped it up in that third quarter where Saquon had 101 yards against the Giants. So we'll see how that one goes. This is one of the games this week I'm really looking forward to. All these matchups are really good. But let's get right into it, man. Talked about this on Bleacher Report here just a couple of days ago. New York Giants, primetime game, man. Traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers here.
Giants are on the board with 11:16 to go here in the third.
Now, when I tell you I got some nuggets for this game, this might be the best nugget. I got 2 of the best nuggets, maybe the crispiest nuggets we've ever had on this show.
Is it like 2 nuggets into 1 nugget?
Because that would be like, what the fuck is this, right? This is like,
little golden,
like the golden
perfect,
nugget.
The perfect golden
nugget.
All
Crispy,
right.
perfect, right? New York Giants, 2-5 right now. Season is looking like it's all but over. Pittsburgh Steelers sitting at 5-2. Everyone doubted them again coming into this year, and they are looking like they're headed towards another season of Mike Tomlin being at least over 500. This game is on Monday Night Football, prime time. The Steelers are favored by 6.5. Over-under, sort of low in this one at 37.5 last week. The Giants lost to the Philadelphia Eagles 28-3. Steelers beat the Jets. Just blew the Jets out, very surprisingly, with Russell Wilson at quarterback, 37-15. Last meeting, the Steelers did beat the New York Giants 26-16. That was in September of 2020. I think that was a primetime game, too. I remember Daniel Jones trying to find his way throwing the ball out the back of the end zone, threw an interception there. I remember that one. Steelers are 5-2. Their 2 losses came against the Colts and the Cowboys, and both losses were just by 3 points, 27-24 versus the Colts, where the snap went over Justin Fields' head on the game-tying drive. 20-17 versus the Dallas Cowboys. It took a game-winning drive from Dak Prescott with a game-winning touchdown to Jalen Tolbert. I believe they went 95 or 98 yards to get that touchdown. The Steelers are looking for their best start since 2020, where they started out 11-0. I believe it was your Washington Commanders that ended that streak that year, too.
Yep.
The Steelers have won. This is the nugget right here. And this makes no sense. They have won 21 straight Monday Night Football games at home. It dates all the way back to 1992.
21 in a row?
21 in a row.
Oh,
the last team to beat the Steelers on Monday night at home was the 1991 New York Football fucking Giants.
Dodge.
I could not believe it when I saw that.
Shut the front door.
So maybe we can have a little bit of repeat history here. Now, these aren't the same old type of New York Giants that we used to have back in 1991. You know, the Rodney Hamptons, the Phil Simms, right? All the OGs and whatnot. But maybe this could be a way that we could snap this streak here. Pittsburgh has scored 30 points in back-to-back games for the first time since weeks 5 and 6 of the 2020 season when they went 11-0 before having their streak snapped. The Steelers have not reached 30 points in 3 straight games in almost a decade now, since 2015. So the Giants have a chance to maybe break that little bit of history there too, where they're trying to go 3 straight games. Russell Wilson, he really got George Pickens involved last week in a major way. Pickens' best game of the season with 111 yards, 5 receptions, 1 touchdown, targeted him 9 times. Wilson was 16 of 29 for 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. This is another nugget. They gave me a second golden nugget here. Russell Wilson has the longest active streak right now for consecutive games with at least 1 touchdown. It was 21 Monday Night Football wins at home for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Russell Wilson has thrown a touchdown in 21 straight games.
Daniel Jones would never.
Yeah, I like your style. Now, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everything looking great on their side. I'm setting this up for maybe a New York Giants upset. Who knows?
21. I might just have to change my score at this point.
Oh, we're going to get to that. Now, the Giants offense has been pathetic this year. 14.1 points per game. That's 30th. Yards per game, 28th. Yards per play, 29th. Scoring in the red zone, 29th. Touchdowns per game, 30th. Yards per rush, 28th. Completion percentage, where Daniel Jones normally excels, 28th. Yards per pass, 27th. Passing yards per game, 23rd. Not so bad. 189.1 passing yards per game for the Giants.
That's bad.
But it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Bad.
I mean, like, you could be in the top 7 if you're in like that 240 range, right? But 189 is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Steelers defense is really damn good.
Yeah. They're
8th in total yards allowed, 3rd in rushing yards allowed, 6th in first downs allowed, 4th in red zone defense, 2nd in points per game. They're only allowing teams to score 14.4 points per game, which is 0.3 more than the New York Giants. Their offense is averaging 23 points per game, and they did a lot of that damage with Justin Fields at the quarterback position. And now that you bring in Russell Wilson, who seems to be able to stretch the field a little bit more, do some things from the pocket that Justin Fields can't do, where I was definitely wrong on that, I think that number's probably going to go up here. The Giants are averaging just 14.1 points per game, is 30th in the NFL. And the biggest worry for me is obviously this Pittsburgh Steelers front 7 going up against this New York Giants offensive line, in particular, Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt. And we're doing this without our cornerstone left tackle, Andrew Thomas. This is going to be very tough. And the last thing I'll say before I toss this over to you, we obviously can't forget that this is a primetime game.
Yeah.
And Daniel Jones is 1-15 in primetime games. In his last primetime game, barely had a 50% completion percentage. He's got the worst record since the merger on primetime. Has never won a primetime game at home, so thank God this one is on the road. Gives us a little bit of an opportunity here because Daniel Jones is 0 for 8 in primetime games at home. He has not thrown a touchdown in 7 straight primetime games. So maybe that streak can come to an end on this game that is on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where the New York Giants on the year are 2-1. The Pittsburgh Steelers have won 21 straight Monday night games at their home field. Russell Wilson has 21 straight games with the touchdown. Whoever gets to 21 first in this game is going to win this game.
Well, it's not going to be the Giants. The Giants are going to score 21 points against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I mean, you say it like that, I feel like we're going to have Sebastian sending me an Instagram short here in a second. What you saying it just like that.
I mean, look, the Giants, excuse me, the Giants cannot be scared to run the ball. That is, for me, right out the gate, biggest thing. Because I kind of got on Washington about it going up against Baltimore. They can't be scared to run the ball, at least not out the gate. I know you mentioned Pittsburgh was third rushing defense. They're only allowing 81 yards per game. I mean, yeah, just kind of do something, to open up the passing. Because the one thing that Pittsburgh is kind of doing is they're allowing a little bit of yards passing wise. The 11th most yards allowed in passing department in the National Football League at 217.3. That's kind of something that you got to keep your eye out on. This is also going to be on Daniel Jones, big time. You cannot have Daniel Jonesing the ball. Like there cannot be a turnover, a bad decision, interception. Pittsburgh Steelers have the third highest interception percentage on defense in the National Football League. 3.9% of passes thrown against the Pittsburgh Steelers, yeah, I saw that, are intercepted. So don't let Daniel Jones go out there and start Daniel Jonesing, because the Pittsburgh Steelers were definitely making pay for it.
Let's at least, let's not set a new narrative, right? Like, Daniel Jones is not necessarily known for turning the ball over a lot, right?
No.
And even the last game where he played pretty bad, still didn't turn the ball over.
Yeah,
so I'm looking at it more like, just don't fuck up.
Exactly. Yeah,
he get Daniel Jones through this if they can run the ball, like you're saying, though.
Yeah, but don't like bad Daniel Jones this. Don't Daniel Jones this falling out the back of your end zone, throwing a pick six, Daniel Jones in.
Yeah.
Like that's the main thing here, because Pittsburgh will make you pay with an interception. I think the big thing here is the Giants defense is, once again, the game is going to be on the Giants defense. The Giants defense is going to have to carry this team. There's no question about it. You're going to have to be able to get Pittsburgh off the field, to at least do your part. The Giants are good at certain things, believe it or not, okay? They're number third down defense in the National Football League. They're only allowing opponents to convert on third down 31.9%, okay? The other thing, obviously, is, you talked about that front for Pittsburgh. Watt's going to be coming. He's going to be coming, and he's going to be coming with a fury. The Giants have allowed the third most sacks in the NFL at 22, so that's definitely going to be something there as well.
That number drastically increased the past couple of weeks, man.
Yeah, because it was an 8-8er last week, right?
Yeah, 8 total, 7 on Jones, yep.
Yeah, so that'll kind of bump that up. But the significance of that being such a jump, obviously, within a 1 week span has a lot to do with, I'm assuming, obviously, Andrew Thomas not being there, so that's going to mess up the rhythm of the offensive line to a certain extent. I think Izidu only gave up, 2 sacks, 1 sack of the 8?
2 sacks, 3 pressures.
Yeah, so it's not.
He didn't have a good game, though. Don't get it twisted. He was bad.
Yeah,
he was bad.
Yeah.
And JMS was bad, too.
So, so I think that's kind of where we are at right now in the season for the for the New York Giants. You're going to have to find a way to win this game, hard-nosed defense. Do not be scared to run the ball. Allow that run game to open up some windows for you in the pass game. Maybe get some play action passes deep down the field, maybe. I mean, I'm just throwing out some maybes out there.
You're asking for a lot.
I'm asking for a lot. I mean, listen, what do you want me to ask? I mean, we're talking about prime time. We're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. You told me they haven't lost a game on Monday night in 30 years.
Yeah. At home. It's been bad.
At home. I mean,
it's not a good look for us right now.
It's not looking good. I don't even think you guys score a touchdown, to be honest with you. You might score a touchdown, maybe. But
I think we'll score a touchdown. It's on the road.
Score a touchdown?
Mm-hmm. It's on the road. I think Daniel Jones will have a decent game. You don't want to make the big mistake in this one, because I do foresee this being a close game. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not some juggernaut of a team
Yeah.
right now. They have not won their games by a lot of points either. I am worried about the defense getting after Daniel Jones, and I like the point that you made about, not being scared to run the ball, which I don't think they're scared, but it's just like, the lack of commitment. Brian Dable out there just getting back to his Buffalo days where he's just like, oh, we don't need to run the ball. We'll just throw the ball every fucking play.
Yeah.
But I do think you need to commit to Tyrone Tracy early in this
Absolutely.
game. Get him at least six
More than
carries in
two,
the first
more than
half.
2 or 3 in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not. That's not asking for a lot.
It's not asking for
right?
a lot at all.
Okay.
And John Mara came out just yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and he said that Joe Shane and Brian Dable are pretty much safe, but I saw that Dan Duggan posted 4 articles from the last couple of coaches that had been fired, and John Mara had said they were safe as well. So I don't think that means much. You got to kind of see what happens for the rest of the season. If the Giants do, start leaning towards a spiraling out of control type of thing, then I'm sure that decision will be different. He also said that, we're committed to Daniel Jones. He is the quarterback of this team, and we want to see him play out the rest of his contract, which is just a fucking head scratcher for all New York Giants fans across the damn country right now. But I do think the Giants have a chance in this game. This was one of the games when I picked the Giants to get the 6 victories at the beginning of the year that I thought they could win. The Pittsburgh Steelers do look like a bit of a better team. I kind of want to stick to my preseason type of guns here and pick the Giants. I haven't picked the Giants since week 2. Man,
It's not a bad
I just
thing,
don't think
man.
I'm gonna do it.
You gotta
I'm
be
gonna
real.
I mean, being real is they can win this game.
They can. Anybody.
Yeah,
can
they
win
can
any
win it.
game.
They can win it. I mean, I don't mean it like that. Like it's the NFL, you can win any game. Pittsburgh don't scare me. Their offense ain't good. They don't run the ball well. They don't pass the ball well. Yeah, Russell Wilson had a big game last week, but is that supposed to make me think that that's going to be the case for the rest of this season for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Not necessarily. I think this one will be kind of close. I do think that Pittsburgh will get to 21 first, but it's not going to surprise me if the Giants win this game. I'll go 24-20. In favor of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think another thing that people are forgetting about is the impact of Malik Neighbors because they didn't see it last week, too. I think that's another thing to keep your eyes on.
I don't think Pittsburgh gets to 21, but I don't think the Giants score a touchdown either. I'm going to go Pittsburgh Steelers 20, New York Giants 6.
That'd be a dirty Monday night game. 20-6.
Couple of good defenses.
I'll make the bet that the New York Giants score a touchdown, at least one. And I'll make the bet that the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Giants are going to get to 21.
They have to make the Nuggets complete. It's
this is a 21 piece.
An extra nugget in a 20 piece.
That's exactly what it is, man. That's exactly what it is. All right, let me just double check on something here on this side. Okay, yeah, let's get off into your game here, man. I'm actually going to be going out to the tailgate for this one. Hanging out with PJ and them. It's going to be PJ's birthday, but Bears are traveling to Northwest Field to take on the Washington Commanders. It's going to be a good one. All right. Kickoff for this one is at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Commanders coming in at 5-2. The Bears are coming in at 4-2. The Bears are favored by 3 in this one, right?
2.5 when I checked when I made these.
What is that? What is that?
I think that's the books not thinking that Jayden Daniels is going to play.
That makes I don't give a damn if Jayden Daniels ain't playing. Marcus Mariota went out there and lit them up. Looked like he could score just as many points last week. Over under this one's 43.5. Last week, Commanders beat the brakes off those Carolina Panthers 40-7. The Bears beat the brakes off those Jacksonville Jaguars in London 35-16. The Bears are 4-2 at the bottom of the NFC North. God damn, I would kill to be 4-2 at the bottom of our division right now. Bears coming to Washington on a 3-game winning streak, and the Bears have not won 4 in a row, like just in any capacity, since 2018. It's been that long since they've won 4 games in a row. Washington just came off a 4-game winning streak before losing to the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. They got back on track versus Carolina Panthers last week. Washington has dominated this series in the past, dating back to 2004. They've won 8 of the last 10 games against the Chicago Bears. Washington has also won 14 of the last 18 if you date it back to 1990. The Bears have their best record through 6 games since 2020. They started out 5-1 in 2020. You want to take a guess at what they finished in that 16-game season?
7-9.
8-8.
Okay.
This is promoted as the big matchup between pick number 1 and pick number 2 in Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels is week to week. Caleb Williams has been improving week to week and looking much better right now. The Commanders, though, when I dig into some of these nuggets here, I'm going to expose your quarterback a little bit. I want you to know that. And I saw your face completely go from a smile to a straight face because you're like, wait. What do you mean expose my quarterback?
I welcome it.
He was like, oh, he's about to give me some more Jayden Daniels nuggets. No, I actually got some bad news for you if Jayden Daniels plays in this game. But the Commanders have been the definition of RTDB, averaging 165.4 rushing yards per game. Brian Robinson has 6 touchdowns on the ground on the year. That's third in the NFL. He's got 2 100-yard games as well. He does have 3 games under 40 yards rushing, though. So it's been either all or nothing or all for nothing when it comes to Brian Robinson. Huge performance against the New York Giants where he put up 133 rushing yards. Austin Eckler has been a good, serviceable OG running back this year. He's averaging 5.9 yards per carry. He has not had more than 10 attempts in any game this year, though. And this could be that game where I think he might need to breach that number, especially with Brian Robinson, we'll say, getting back right, trying to get back right. The Commanders as a football team right now are averaging 5.2 yards per carry as a team. Now, football is the ultimate team game, right, guys? Mm-hmm. The Commanders are the anomaly to that because their offense has truly led the way right now. They're scoring 31.1 points per game. That's tied for first in the NFL. And their defense has been a leaky faucet pretty much all year long. But their offense has been controlling the clock, keeping the opposing quarterback on the sideline, and scoring a fuck ton of points. Now, the Commanders' defense is allowing opponents to score in the red zone damn near 3/4 of the time. Okay? We're talking 72% just about that when teams get down there to the red zone, they're able to score. They're ranked 23rd in third down conversion. They're allowing 4.9 yards per carry. That's 27th in the NFL. And this number was very appalling to me almost. They're allowing quarterbacks to complete their passes at a 70% clip this year, which is 27th in the NFL. They're also allowing 7.8 yards per pass, which is 26th in the NFL. But the offense, we talked about this last show, has done just a fantastic job of sustaining drives that they only have one more punt than the New York Giants had in their entire game last week because New York Giants punted the ball 11 times. The Commanders have only punted the ball 12 times on the year. Now, when I looked at this just from a wide angle perspective, I looked at it like the Commanders, great offense, bad defense, going up against the Chicago Bears, who are a good defense and a okay offense. Mm-hmm. Makes it very difficult for me to figure out who I want to pick in this one. Mm-hmm. The Bears offense is averaging 24.7 points per game right now, 12th in the NFL. And in the last 3 weeks, Caleb Williams has 7 touchdowns to just 1 interception. Along with the passer rating, over 105 in all 3 of those games. They're all 3 victories for the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams started the year with 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in his first 3 games. So he's been the quarterback that people thought he was going to be as the number 1 selection in the 2024 draft. DeAndre Swift has been getting things together. He's got more than 90 rushing yards in 2 out of his last 3 games as well. But the Bears have not had a pass catcher go over 100 yards that many times this year. They've only had any pass catcher on their team go over 100 yards just twice. Odunze against the Texans went for 112, and DJ Moore against the Panthers went for 105. Both of those teams are I'll say the Texans are record-wise a really good team, but they have came back down to earth a little bit this year, and the Panthers are the Panthers. The Bears have absolutely been clicking this year. They have 5 touchdowns from their offense in each of the past 2 games. Chicago has held their opponents to 21 points or less. This is a nugget. In 12 consecutive games. I don't understand how you are such a bad team when you are holding teams to under 21. 21 is the magic number for today.
Yeah. No.
Okay? That's the longest active streak in the NFL right now. Now, I talk about DJ Moore's 100-yard performance because if you remember last year, DJ Moore had a career game against the Washington Commanders last year. 230 yards, 3 touchdowns in that game. Now, Caleb Williams has not been good on the road. You know I've been digging into these numbers about quarterbacks, especially mine and Daniel Jones, about how they perform at home and how they perform on the road. So I've been doing that a lot more for a lot of these other quarterbacks. Caleb Williams at home, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception, passer rating, 105. Caleb Williams on the road, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, passer rating, 68.4. This sounds like Daniel Jones, but the flip-flop. version of it. Better at home. Put him on that bus, put him on that flight, have him play on the road, not as good. Just 4 explosive plays on the road, 11 explosive plays at home. Now, I told you I was going to talk about your quarterback before I send this off to you to maybe try to influence the route that we take to a victory. Yeah. Jayden Daniels has been the opposite. Jayden Daniels has 6 touchdowns on the season, which the MVP talk might need to be piped down just a little bit. But what about the rushing touchdowns, Authentic? I know. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns. All of them are on the road. He's got 5 touchdowns through the air, 1 interception on the road. At home, he has just 1 passing touchdown and 1 interception. Washington is 3-0 at home for the first time since 2005, and it just feels like this game might be one of those ones where that 3-0 streak might be able to come to an end. I think if Marcus Mariota has to play, the Bears do have a better chance, but not that much better of a chance. How you feeling about this matchup, Beard?
I agree. I agree with that statement that you ended with. I do think that with Marcus Mariota, their chances of winning increases. Excuse me. Now, these two teams are very similar, to be honest with you. They both have really good records, but they've both, basically beaten teams that don't have really good records. Washington hasn't beaten anybody with a winning record. Chicago Bears haven't beaten anybody with a winning record. The Bears beat the Titans barely, but that's because Will Levis threw one of the most god-awful interceptions you'll see. They beat the Rams, they beat the Panthers, and they beat the Jaguars. That's all of their wins right there. Now, in their losses, it's a very similar theme here. They lose to Houston Texans, 2 turnovers. They only rushed the ball for 71 yards, and they gave up 75 on the ground. Against the Colts, 3 turnovers. They only ran for 63 yards, and they gave up 150. So, in their 2 losses, they're averaging 2 turnovers, almost around 65 rushing yards offensively, and they're giving up over 112 yards on the ground. So, there is a theme to those losses for them. Now, you talked about Washington and that rushing attack that we have, averaging 165.4, 3rd best in the NFL, only behind the Eagles and the Ravens. The Bears' rush defense, 112 yards per game they allow. It's the 11th best in the league. But once again, some of the opponents that they faced, they don't necessarily have good running attacks. And the ones that do, that Jonathan Taylor went absolutely insane all over them. And their pass defense, though, also pretty damn good. 7th best according to yardage per game. They're only allowing 180 yards per game through the air. They've also allowed the 2nd fewest passing touchdowns in the league at 4. Now, the red zone is going to be an interesting situation as well. Chicago's red zone 5th, 43.8%. Washington's 14th in the NFL, 56.3%. Now, Chicago's, 3rd down offense or 3rd down defense is 8th in the league. They're only allowing opponents to convert on 32.1% on 3rd downs. Washington has a 3rd best 3rd down defense. 3rd down offense at 48.8%. So it's so important because that's what keeps them the ability to have that time of possession, the ability to keep Caleb Williams off the field. It all comes back to 3rd downs. It's super important. Now, for me, offensively, Chicago, this is where it's kind of weird because Washington's weakness isn't necessarily Chicago's strengths, at least consistently so far. Obviously, Chicago has not seen an offense remotely close to what Washington's doing so far this year. So their defense is going to be tested. Now, our defense is obviously going to be tested because our defense is going to be tested no matter who we play because we are very inconsistent, right? But Chicago's rushing offense, and I think this is why I mentioned in their 2 losses how they were not really running the ball efficiently. Because in order for Caleb Williams to be successful, they have to have DeAndre Swift going. And we talked about this on multiple occasions during the parlay about the success of Caleb Williams and DeAndre Swift, how they go, hand in hand. Chicago's rushing offense is 24th in the NFL. They're only rushing for 104.8 yards per game, and a lot of that has gone up recently because of the success of DeAndre Swift in the last couple of weeks. Their pass offense is 20th in the league. They've only
Stan's in the chat like, man, what happened to the beard?
I trimmed it up a little bit. Don't worry. By Thanksgiving, it'll be right back down here. My barber was like, your beard, I don't understand how your beard grows faster than any beard and crazier than any beard I've ever seen. And he's seen a lot of beards, just not this type of beard, okay?
Yeah.
So their offense is just kind of mediocre in certain aspects, even though they've been playing a lot better as of recent. The turnover differential is going to be very interesting. Chicago has one of the best turnover differentials in the league at +6, and Washington is not too far behind them at 5th for +3 in turnover differential. So, obviously, I think Jayden Daniels plays. I really do.
I don't. I don't think he plays.
You don't think he plays?
I thought it last, when we were doing the recap show, I thought he would play, but it's not looking good.
You had to put a percentage on
play
it.
it safe.
What do you think your percentage would be?
28% chance that he'll play.
Okay. I'm at like a 60-40 right now. I think obviously the practice report that comes out tomorrow is going to be the big, tell to see if he's going to play or not. But you mentioned Marcus Mariota. I think Marcus Mariota, he's here for a reason. I think he feels very comfortable in this offense. Now, if Marcus Mariota is the quarterback, I would expect an even heavier dosage of the run game against Chicago, obviously. I think Brian Robinson is the type of guy that you can put, a team offensive game plan on his shoulders. And I think you nailed it when you were talking about Austin Eckler and having to get a little bit more out of him if that is a situation where Mariota is the quarterback and we rely on Brian Robinson a lot more to carry us through this game. I also thought that this game, the Eagles game, the Cowboys game, I think that you can go either way. I don't think that one thing really stands out more than the other. Like, I think Chicago has improved drastically, but like Washington, it's hard to kind of gauge how they're going to perform against a certain team. Like, for Washington, I got to see them play against Baltimore, right? Like, that gave me a little bit of insight in how they can play against the better teams, right? They didn't win the game. You know, if you want to win, if you want to be a playoff team, if you want to contend, you have to eventually be able to win those games. But we've only had that, and I guess Cincinnati would be, Tampa Bay. But Tampa Bay was week 1.
But even against the bad teams, the Chicago Bears offense doesn't really normally operate like a well-oiled machine like we've seen from the Commanders. Like against some bad teams, like against the Cardinals, who are, I wouldn't call them a bad team, but they're not a good team yet. You guys just walked them down the field. And I think we've yet to really see that. Even in the Bears game against the Jacksonville Jaguars in London this past week, it's a close game throughout like the first 2.5 quarters, and then they kind of started to pull away towards the end of that game. But the Bears offense has never really just been like just clicking on all cylinders. We haven't seen that yet. And
the Bears defense is a little banged up too. I know, I don't know if Joe Deals is still in here. He's our resident Chicago Bears fan. I saw him pop in earlier. I know Brisker is banged up and Johnson is banged up as well. So they got some secondary issues back there that's going to be something to keep your eye out on. Now, obviously, that changes a little bit if Jayden Daniels versus Marcus Mariota as far as how much it goes. But Washington's defense is going to have to make some plays in this game, and that's going to be a big part of the roadmap. If you guys are ready to buckle up and head, right down Sheriff Road over on our way to Northwest Stadium or Field? Stadium.
You would know more than me, bro. Stadium. I botched it in the intro of the show and all that.
We're gonna go Stadium. Let's take a road trip.
All right, let's get it.
Yeah, you're getting on the freeway. What? No, turn right. Get out of the lane. No. Okay, get the procedure. Just get out the lane.
Always on the same page here at Authentic in the Beard. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the roadmap to victory, okay? I just talked about Brian Robinson and putting this game on his shoulders. We are going to need 150 rushing yards this game easily in order to get a victory. Turnovers. I talked about how turnovers are a big part of Chicago's 2 losses. We're going to need to force 2 turnovers in this game if we want to win. Red zone percentage. We're going to have to score points. In order to score points, you got to be successful in the red zone. I'm looking for 60% or more success rate in the red zone from the Washington Commanders. Going to have to score 30 points. going to have to score 30 points in this
30
game. Yep,
against
30
the Bears,
points
huh?
against the Bears. 30 points against the Bears. Also, hold Chicago under 100 yards rushing. And last but certainly not least, it's almost like these last two places are the parking spot in the parking garage at the end of the roadmap. Time of possession and third down. You got to win both. Do all those things, and the Washington Commanders will walk away with a victory. And the victory will be Washington Commanders 30, Chicago Bears 24.
You see, this guy, he's been getting so used to scoring 30 points a game, he thinks that is the quota in the NFL for you to win games against a team that you just described as not really that great of a team in the Chicago Bears. Listen, man, you could beat them with 22, 23 points for real in this one. I ain't scared of no Chicago Bears, man. I think the Commanders are going to get this W. I'm going to go a little bit less scoring, especially because I'm expecting Marcus Mariota to be the quarterback here. I'm going to go 26-21 in favor of the Washington Commanders. So are we locked in on all these games already? Pittsburgh,
No, I picked
Washington.
Cincinnati over Philadelphia.
You a Bengals fan? I forgot. Yeah, you are a Bengals fan. Man, he gonna pick Joe Burrow every game he possibly could pick Joe Burrow. All right, let's get off into this last NFC East matchup, and then we'll get off into the Thursday night football game. But let's go ahead and talk about the Dallas Cowboys traveling to go take on the San Francisco Kryptonites one time. All right, man, Cowboys coming in 3-3. San Francisco 49ers coming in at 3-4. Both these teams are underperforming right now. Kickoff is Sunday night, 8:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I got the 49ers by 4, over under 46.5. Last week, Cowboys were on their bye. 49ers took the L to the Kansas City Chiefs 28-18. The 49ers have lost 4 games this year by a total of 22 points. Keep that number in your head. The Cowboys have lost 3 games this year by a total of 66 points. So these are two totally different teams when it comes to how they are losing. Those close games that the San Francisco 49ers found a way to win all through last year, they have not had that same success this year. The Cowboys have lost 3 straight to the 49ers. That dates back to 2022. And before that, the Cowboys had won 6 of the past 7. The Cowboys are 10th in the NFC, and the 49ers are 12th in the NFC. These are 2 teams that were in the playoffs a year ago. One of them in the championship game and in the Super Bowl game. San Francisco 49ers are banged up. They're dealing with hella injuries right now. And 2 of the Cowboys' wins this year, they only have 3 wins, but 2 of them came in primetime games. And the Cowboys need to get healthy. Hopefully they're getting Deron Bland back. He could help a little bit. Micah Parsons is still questionable coming into this game. 49ers injuries are just piling up, man. Brandon Ayuk out for the year. That really ruined my fantasy comeback of the season. Jordan Mason has been a complete beast. He's questionable coming into this game. He's second in the NFL in rushing yards right now. Debo Samuel dealing with the illness. He's questionable coming into this game. But the 49ers have still been able to score some points this year. They're averaging 25.7 points. They're 6th in passing yards per game, 7th in rushing yards per game. So the offense is still clicking. But Brock Purdy has had some trouble taking care of this football. He's got 7 interceptions on the year. But that number really jumped up last week when he had 3 interceptions last week. He's just 4 away from his career high of 11 interceptions through 3 seasons. Purdy has 9 passing touchdowns on the year, and he's closing in on 2,000 yards. He's got 1,841 yards on the year. And I think with all these injuries, it's time to find out if Brock Purdy is the guy or not. Purdy is coming off a season where he threw for 31 touchdowns and 11 interceptions just a year ago. Now, with that said, with the Dallas Cowboys offense, there's a lot more pressure. I'll say the pressure, not even more pressure, as it has been on Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb on this offense. And CeeDee Lamb, it's been a bit of a quiet year. Still doesn't have a 100-yard game, just 2 touchdowns thus far through the year. But quietly, Lamb is still in the top 10 in receiving yards right now with 467 receiving yards on the year. Feels like a breakout game is looming for the Dallas Cowboys and for CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott has just 8 touchdowns and 6 interceptions on the year. Him and Purdy both aren't playing up to their capacity right now. But the Cowboys are 2nd in the league in passing yards, but they just can't score. Only averaging 21 points per game. There goes that number again, which is not 21st in the NFL, but it's 20th. And the Cowboys obviously been struggling to run the ball. The Cowboys are last in the NFL in rushing yards per game. They're the only team in the NFL without a 100-yard performance by a running back. And Rico Dowdle has been struggling. He had his best game 2 weeks ago. before the bye. But the game before that, he only had 2 carries in the first half. And Mike McCarthy got away from the run, kind of reminding you of Brian Dable. Cowboys got to start faster in this game. And I didn't get to talk about it with the Philadelphia Eagles, who haven't scored in the first quarter all year long. But the Cowboys, they just got to get off to an early start, which is how they won a lot of games last year. We talked about Dak Prescott not being the guy to play from behind on the scoreboard. The Dallas Cowboys have yet to score on an opening drive this entire year. They've also yet to score on an opening drive to start the second half this year.
Oh.
So that goes to show you where the Cowboys are at thus far. Cowboys absolutely got to take care of the ball, especially when you're talking about going up against the San Francisco 49ers, because in their last 3 losses against the Niners, they have lost the turnover battle 7-3. They also only have 5 takeaways this season. So you would hope that maybe, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, and this is absolutely a get-right type of game, and I don't mean a get-right game like you're looking at an opponent that you're going to walk over and actually get right, but this is the type of game for either one of these teams. Whoever comes out victorious in this game is going to have a much better season than the team that comes away with the L. I'm going to see if you can convince me a little bit here, because I'm right in the middle on this one. I don't know who to choose. The injuries for the San Francisco 49ers seem to be more detrimental. I mean, they're pretty much without their whole entire wide receiver core. But with the Dallas Cowboys, obviously, could be missing your best pass rusher on defense. Secondary's been banged up. What's your thoughts on this game with the Cowboys going up against the Niners?
Well, just to give you a little bit of update as far as the injuries go, Micah Parsons did not practice today, so it's not looking good for him. Excuse me. Deebo Samuel's out the hospital, so he looks like he's going to be back in action this week, recovering from pneumonia. Ricky Pearsall came back last week. He's going to be ramped up a little bit more this week. I know no Ayuk, but Juwan Jennings has stepped up tremendously this season when given the opportunity. So I think, there's going to be a lot relying on Juwan Jennings and Pearsall moving forward here. But you still have Deebo. Kittle's a little banged up, ankle, I believe, but he's trending in the right direction to play. I think Jordan Mason, I feel like this guy does not get enough love, does not get enough respect. All I hear about is Christian McCaffrey is the missing Christian McCaffrey is hurting the 49ers. The 49ers are where they are because they haven't had Christian McCaffrey. Listen, nothing against Christian McCaffrey, because there are things that Christian McCaffrey does that most running backs can't do. And to be able to do that with the running game at the same time, yes, it is a huge difference maker. It allows your offense to line up in different packages, and it puts your defense on the heels. But that being said, I wouldn't necessarily say that the 49ers' downfall this year is as much on Christian McCaffrey as it is on the inconsistent play of Brock Purdy and the inconsistent play of the defense. San Francisco,
I disagree with you on that. The defense, I'll give you. I can't give you the Brock Purdy one.
I know. And it's not, I'm not saying that Brock Purdy is not a good quarterback. I'm not trying to backtrack and make it seem like my original Purdy take was right, because that's not what I'm saying. What I'm just saying is that the inconsistency has shown a little bit more this year. Last year, like, he was kind of Mr. Reliable. He would get you to where you need to be to win the game. This year, when they've kind of been asked him to do a little bit more, he hasn't necessarily produced at that level. And he's going to be up for a contract at the end of this year. The 49ers are going to have to make a decision. Are you going to reset the quarterback market with Brock Purdy or not?
Is it this year? His first year he didn't play at all? Is that what it was?
I'm pretty sure this is his contract year. At the end of this year, he's due for a new deal.
Yeah, because I know he has 3 years of stats, but I can't remember if as a rookie. I'll look into it, though, while you keep going. Yeah.
So for me, it's just that's kind of the big difference here. And I like that deal that talked about Jacob Counting, because I like Jacob Counting too. I think he needs to get a little bit more action. He's a really good young wide receiver, and he's probably going to be called upon a little bit more moving forward. But you talked about Jordan Mason being second in the league in rushing yards, 667. Dallas, I loved how you talked about all the turnover numbers here. Dallas is tied for third worst turnover differential in the league, -6. Dallas and Philly are both -6. Dallas allows the 6th most rushing yards per game at 143.2. You're going up against this number 2 leading running back in the league with a depleted wide receiver core. So I'm assuming that they're going to rely on Jordan Mason to kind of, pound the ball here. Both of these quarterbacks, You talked about their interceptions. Both of these teams are top 10 in interception percentage, meaning that, they're throwing a lot of interceptions based upon the passes that they're throwing. The passing offense of both of these teams, high yardage numbers. You talked about Dallas number 2, San Francisco's number 4. Both of their pass defenses are middle of the pack. Dallas is a little bit better at number 13, San Francisco number 17. Dallas does allow the 6th highest touchdown percentage defensively in the passing game. So 5.3 of their opponents' passes are ending up as touchdown passes. Dallas also allows the 2nd most points per game at 28 points. So for me, I just think that San Francisco has, once again, the game I wanted to see from Dallas, that game against Pittsburgh, they showed me so much grit, right? But I still don't. I'm so concerned that they're just not able to run the ball. They're not able to stop the run. I feel like San Francisco, I might have even been easier for me to pick San Francisco if they were playing in Dallas, the way Dallas has been playing at home lately. But
Yeah.
I feel like Purdy is going to have a bounce back game here. I think they're going to be able to run the ball all over Dallas. I don't think Dallas is going to be able to get anything going. I'm expecting there to be some turnovers in this game. I think whoever wins the turnover battle probably comes out on top. All that being said, I'm going to take San Francisco, 27-20.
I like the score. I'm not mad at that. Just to get back to the Brock Purdy thing, he won't be in a contract year till next year.
Okay.
So, and he doesn't have 5th-year option because he was the last pick in the draft. So they'll have to get his contract done at some point, probably next year. The pushback I give you on the inconsistent play is that if you remove his last game, he had a horrible game against arguably one of the best defenses in the league in the Kansas City Chiefs. Steve Spagnuolo obviously got them clicking, but he would be sitting at 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's had over 200 yards in every game this year. He's only leading up to that point. He had an interception in 3 games and 2 in 1. He would have been sitting at 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1,600 yards. I don't think that's that inconsistent. That's kind of what you expect to see out of a guy like Brock Purdy. For me, it's missing the weapons. When you don't have a guy like CMC in the backfield, I know Jordan Mason has stepped in and done a fantastic job, but CMC presents a different type of threat when you're talking about how defenses go up against him. They utilize him in the pass attack. CMC is probably the best all-around hybrid running back in the entire NFL. And Brock Purdy has now tried to find a way to adjust to playing without him the entire year. CMC has not played a game this entire year. So I do think that Brock Purdy is a pretty good quarterback in this league, but it's not like he's an elite guy. He's just a regular quarterback. He can get it done. But when you take away those weapons, and then you're dealing with Deebo Samuel being in and out of the lineup, Brandon Ayuk, to me, is the guy that has been the main reason why this offense doesn't move the way that it does. We're talking about Brandon Ayuk had like 1,600 yards last year.
Yeah, it was a breakout year for him.
Dude was terrible this year. He did get one 100-yard game before he ended up getting injured. I want to say it was 2 weeks before the injury. But I have him on my fantasy. When you don't have a wide receiver 1, Deebo is not that. Deebo is a guy that is a little bit of a mixed kind of bag. Deebo's like a wide receiver version of Taysom Hill, right? Like he's going to line up in the backfield. He's going to run the ball like that. But to me, it's like when you remove a guy's best weapons, just like what's happening to Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia right now, you take away A.J. Brown out of that offense.
Smith, yeah.
Come on, he's not going to be the same. So I think Brock Purdy is doing the best job that he can do. But I do like what you said about the defense because last year that defense was much better. They were getting teams off the field, and I think that's where the Dallas Cowboys kind of have an avenue to maybe win this game. I wish I knew what the injuries, who was going to be out in this game. It would really help me pick this one better because if they don't got Deebo, I would pick the Dallas Cowboys.
Play.
I saw before the show he's questionable.
Yeah.
So, he could play, but if they gave me the news that he's not playing, I would pick the Cowboys. If he is playing, I think it gives the San Francisco 49ers a better chance. I like the Dallas Cowboys coming off the bye. Too much time to rest. The San Francisco 49ers are still trying to figure out how to do this shit without Brandon Ayuk. I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one. I think it'll be super close. I'm going to take the Cowboys. Let me see. I think we can get at least, I'm going to say it's going to be 3 field goals and 2 touchdowns. So let's go 26 for the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
And let's go 21 for the San Francisco 49ers. I really want to go closer. Change that. Get the San Francisco 49ers another field goal. I want to go 26-24 Dallas Cowboys.
Gotcha. It's going to be a fun one.
It is. What a great way to finish out Sunday night. That's like all these games this week, man. They're going to define the season. If the Giants can't win this game against the Steelers, you're out of here. If the Commanders can't beat the Bears, I think we're going to start to look at them a little bit differently. Like maybe that isn't going to be the best team in the NFC East. Cincinnati and the Philadelphia Eagles, whoever loses that game, you're going to have a tough time clawing back, man. It's going to be interesting. But let's get off into this Thursday night matchup. This one's going to be with the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Rams. Definitely looking forward to this matchup as well. All right, let's do this as fast as we can. We're going to get the gang up out of here in about 4 to 5 minutes here. The Vikings are coming in at 5-1. Los Angeles Rams, very disappointing 2-4. Kickoff is at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Amazon Prime. Thought I heard something about a dual broadcast with this one being on Fox as well. Vikings are coming in as the favorites in this one. The over-under is 48. Last week, Vikings lost a tough one to the Detroit Lions, 31-29. The Rams beat the Raiders 20-15 in a pretty close fashion there. The Rams have won the last 2 meetings against these two teams. The Vikings have won the previous 5 before that 2-game run by the Los Angeles Rams. Some injuries coming into this game. Minnesota linebacker Blake Cashman has missed 2 games. He's out with a toe injury tonight. TJ Hawkinson, he's still dealing with the knee injury. He's questionable. I just saw before we went live on air that Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp were both warming up on the field, doing their warm-ups. They're both active. Coming into this game questionable. They are active now?
They are active, and Hawkinson is inactive.
The Rams have won the past 2 meetings with the Vikings here, but this is the first time the Vikings will play the Rams at SoFi Stadium. So this is going to be a little bit of new blood here one time. Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell was part of Sean McVay's Rams staff as the offensive coordinator for 2 seasons from 2020 to 2021. I'm coming into this one. I love the way that Sam Darnold has been playing. I'm favoring the Vikings offense here. Sam Darnold has a passer rating of at least 105 of his 6 games, tied for the most with Josh Allen and Joe Burrow of any quarterback in the NFL right now. Now, Justin Jefferson has been having a pretty good season, but he is in a bit of a funk here. He's got 4 straight games without 100 yards. That's never happened. That's the longest duration without a 100-yard game from Justin Jefferson in his entire career. On the flip side, I think that the Los Angeles Rams need to rely on the run. Obviously, Kyren Williams is going to need a big day. He has a touchdown in 9 straight games. It's the second longest streak by any Rams running back in the history of that franchise. He will tie the record with a touchdown tonight that is held by Greg Bell. He also leads the NFL in scrimmage touchdowns since the beginning of 2023 with 24 touchdowns for Kyren Williams.
You know where
the Vikings have the – say it again?
You know where he's from?
Of course I know where he's from. Come on.
Go Notre Dame, man.
I'm about to go full screen on this motherfucker one time. The Vikings have the number 2 rush defense in the league, so that's going to be a great matchup there going up against Kyren Williams. Sean McVay versus Brian Flores. I cannot wait to see this matchup here. The Vikings defense has allowed teams to score points on just 18 of 71 possessions. Brian Flores got that defense humming, and I'm kind of wishing that when Bill Belichick accidentally texts the wrong Brian, that maybe Brian Flores would have been the guy that could have been the coach for the New York Giants. I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings in this one. How you feeling?
I think this game's going to be fun also. I like the matchups here. I was wrong on Aaron Jones. He looked really good coming back from the injury. I think that's huge for the Vikings. The Vikings just have the weapons there, and now the Rams are getting their weapons back. We haven't seen Puka and Cooper all year, it feels like. So I'm really interested to see how they perform coming back from the injuries. I think it gets close. There's some weird rumors floating around between these two teams. I don't know how many of you saw it, but the rumors are that the Vikings are trying to trade for Matthew Stafford. So I think it's kind of interesting that this game is – I don't believe it either, but, I mean, it's definitely floating out there. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. I am also going to go with the Vikings, though. I kind of feel like tipping my score up a little bit, but I'm going to stick with it. 24-21 Vikings over the Rams.
24-21. I think it'll be a bigger lead for the Vikings in this one. The Rams defense has struggled this year. They're bringing in a bunch of young guys to try to fill in for that void with Aaron Donald in the center of that defense. I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings in this one. I'll go 31 to I'm going to go 31-13 Vikings. I think it's going to be a bit of a blowout. While we're on that Matthew Stafford conversation, let me tell you why I think that's a bunch of bullshit. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Why would you rip the Band-Aid off of Kirk Cousins, right, as a bit of a franchise quarterback in the realm of a Matthew Stafford, right? Commit to the rebuild, bring in the bridge quarterback exactly like you're supposed to do, draft a quarterback in the first round, and then go, you know what? Nah. Like, let's get it back and, like, go get us another Kirk Cousins and bring back Matthew Stafford. To me, it don't make no sense. It don't make any sense.
Big shout out to Kefla with the $5 super chat. Says hot take. I think Tommy DeVito gives us a better chance to win, so I'd keep DJ in just because at this point I really wanted a quarterback.
Yeah. Kefler, you're not the first person I've heard say that. I do think Tommy DeVito could possibly give us a better chance. I think Drew Lock might give us a better chance than both them dudes if you let Drew Lock prepare with the ones and get ready for a game in a real fashion. But, I mean, I don't know if it's that hot of a take because Daniel Jones has been playing such lackluster football, especially when he's been at home in front of that MetLife crowd. But big shout out to Kefler, man. We appreciate you, my dog.
And speaking of MetLife, big shout out to Kefla with the $2 super chat. Says he's got more touchdowns than MetLife.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Drew Lock has more game-winning drives than Daniel Jones does since the beginning of 2023. He's a backup quarterback that only played in like 2 games. So we'll see. Definitely looking forward to this matchup tonight, man. This is going to be a fun one. I think this is going to be a really interesting week. We might be off for the parlay this week because I am planning on going up to the Commanders tailgate. So we might be off. We might try to sneak in a show. It is a 4 o'clock game, so just keep your eyes and ears peeled for that one. Shout out to everybody that tuned in today, man, to rock out with us for this Week 8 edition of the preview show. Beard, you got any last words before we get the gang up out of here?
Nope. Just big shout out to everybody. It's a natural thing now.
Nope.
Nope. Followed by a bunch of words. No, big shout out to everybody in the chat. We appreciate all the love and all the support. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter at TimWalkOnWater2 at Authentic. Enjoy the games. Keep your eyes on those injury reports. It's that time of year. There's no bye weeks this week. Everybody's a full go as far as the game slates go. Enjoy tonight's game. And I can't believe he forgot to tell you, but I'll tell you for him. Don't forget to turn on that Prime Vision.
Oh, yeah, you got to turn on that. I've been going back and forth because sometimes you miss some of the little details, the little nuggets from the announcer with that one dude on the Prime Vision. I don't know his name, but he's always trying to give out his own personal nuggets. But, yeah, Prime Vision is a vibe for the people that like all 22 and stuff like that. Definitely check it out. But y'all know how we end every stream, man, and y'all know that we could not do this without y'all, but keep raising that bar, keep living those dreams because the universe flows in Technicolor and surround sound. And a life without dreams is a life in black and white. Rest in peace to the podcast GOAT, Combat Jack. And that's a wrap, y'all. Best of luck to all y'all teams in the NFC East. Forget all the rest of you bitches that ain't the New York Giants. You know what it is, man. We holla at y'all real soon. We appreciate y'all all in this chat, man. I see y'all with the biceps. Gregory, Nova. I see all y'all. Kareem Yee. Shout out to the gang, man. Y'all be good. Have a blessed evening and enjoy y'all football. Peace.
Spike don't care.